All right, it's another rocking week, and week 7 is upon us here in the college football world, and got some interesting to talk about. So get right here with my man Randy. He's going a little early today because we got some things we got to do. He more like him, though, but I got things I got to do too. So let's real quickly get into last week real quick. I'm sure everybody's had a whole week to digest the Alabama upset at the hands of A&M that I don't think you and I or most people outside of maybe the state of Texas saw that one coming, and I think most of them probably were just praying for it. So, uh,
Yeah,
so um,
yeah,
thoughts on that? You being a Bama fan?
yeah. I mean, A&M was not playing well, and they had so many injuries, and a backup quarterback. So, at the beginning of the season, I think everybody was looking at this game saying, this is a game that Alabama could possibly lose. But as things have gone so far for them, it kind of looked like it had lost the luster of that type of game. But A&M sure didn't let us down.
Yeah, I pretty much share the same sentiment. In the beginning of the year, wondering, okay, what's going to transpire between now and that date on the calendar. A little bit of gamesmanship in the beginning with Jimbo Fisher and the whole, we're gonna beat him on this game, and then Saban's like at golf, stuff like that. Ha, it was fun, all fun and games, no big deal. And but the way the season's unfolded, man, on especially it's how banged up A&M was, and even though Bama's not the last year's team, they sure look pretty good this year and pretty dominant for the most part. Have a couple games where things were tight, no big deal, but just didn't seem like they were going to have the men to get it done, the Jimmys and Joes and the dudes. And I'll give A&M credit. I mean, they're at home. I think that was a big plus for them. I think of that
Oh,
roads that if they're not at home, they probably don't win that game, and only because Alabama had a furious comeback in that game and actually took the lead. So it wasn't like they controlled the whole game, but A&M had a heck of an effort. So I'll give them that for sure. That game was interesting to watch because I just could not believe what I was watching.
right.
So but all isn't lost. It was they already got 2 losses at A&M in the conference, so that doesn't really gain them anything. They need Bama to lose another one and a bunch of other teams to lose another one in order for them to even be in the conversation to get to the Atlanta A&M I'm talking about. So good win for them. Maybe they can salvage their season, getting a New Year's Six bowl game. I don't know. It's a long way off between now and then. They're just looking to play better each week to week. Hopefully, don't have a letdown after having such a great win. But Bama's got to go into Mississippi State and not let them throw it all over the field on them. I think most people probably are picking Bama to win this game. It's hard to imagine Saban dropping 2 in a row. And definitely Mississippi State is not A&M when it comes to personnel. So everything's still there in front of them. They can run the table and still get to Atlanta and play Georgia in the SEC championship game. Just can't lose another one, that's for sure. Otherwise, they probably won't make it there, to the end. But I don't think they will. So it was if there was any game on the schedule that you had to lose, maybe that was the one because it really wasn't to a bad team. It was just a team that's banged up. So they
Yeah.
didn't really kill them in the polls. They're in 5th. So it's probably one of the better games to have lost. And the way they lost it, they could have won it. So it wasn't like they were blown out, doors blown off or nothing like that. They just went into a buzzsaw. I think a lot of young Bama players grew up in that game, and that might be a good thing for Bama moving forward to make sure you're ready for every game. I know that's what Saban's going to be preaching. I'm sure you feel the same way.
Oh, yeah. I think but we've seen over the years the formula to beat Alabama, and Texas A&M got almost every one of those. You got to have a quarterback that plays lights out. I mean, this guy literally, in my opinion, turned into Tom Brady uh, for that day. Anyways, I mean, he made some passes that were just unbelievable. They got a couple of turnovers. The turnover at the 2 yard line that was huge in that game. Um, get a couple turnovers, special teams, get a return on a kickoff. That was the real big thing because I mean that game was it was like watching 2 different games. You watch the first half and you're like, wow, man, Texas A&M is awesome. And then you watch the second half and it was all Alabama. And we even talk. It seems like every time we talk about something, it literally happens. Uh, when it happens right away. We talked last week about, well, we've seen teams control the stats but lose the game. Well, Alabama did that exact same thing, over 500 yards of offense. But Texas A&M, they did a good job on the line of scrimmage, especially their offensive line, because the quarterback never got sacked. He made a couple of throws with people right in his face.
Oh yeah.
But that's what you got to have. You got to have great quarterback play. At least hold your own on the front. On the line of scrimmage, which and they did that. Special teams touchdown, couple turnovers.
Yep.
As an Alabama fan, one of the biggest things I still shaking my head at is first and goal from the 3-yard line, and they run 3 pass plays, and even Nick Saban after the fact is going, I'm not sure what we were doing there. And I'm
Yeah.
screaming at the TV, well, what are you doing? And so that was, we've seen that formula before. Work the middle of the field, and Alabama don't normally get, like you were saying, get their doors blown off. They find a way to get back in a game,
Yep.
and that's that's good for them. And then with the other thing we talked about last week was these going on the road, a hostile environment, and boy, that was certainly a hostile environment. I have really been kind of blown away this year, and not like it just started happening, but I've really took notice to this home field thing. Penn State, Texas A&M, Iowa.
Yep.
I know when you go to an LSU, Auburn, these places. I mean, it is just unreal, and it's such a huge advantage in college football. You got these young guys that are feeding off of that,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just a little bit of momentum. In this game, Alabama took the momentum back and kind of silenced that crowd somewhat. It was impossible to silence completely.
Right.
Kickoff return, they're right back in it. And so, we've seen it before, but like you were saying, they got a shot to, stay in it, run the table. I will say I don't think they can beat Georgia, but we'll see.
Oh, absolutely. Somebody on satellite radio today was talking about the 3 or 4 teams he thinks could legitimately have a shot at beating Georgia, and he was talking basically about offensive teams, and he had Ohio State in there. He even had OU in there with their resurgence, and he had Alabama. At first, he didn't want to put Alabama. He said, I can't keep them out because you just never know. They got the studs and they got the coach. So, by the time that game would come, who knows and stuff. So, I think he had another one I can't think of off the top of my head. But it wasn't Penn State, it wasn't Iowa. I wouldn't sit there and say Iowa can't beat Georgia because that's why they play these games. I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen, and defense. A lot of people don't like to talk about defense a whole lot, but it really does mean something. And you look at Georgia; they're a defensive-minded team. They do have good offense; they're banged up and stuff, but boy, that defense is just—it's pretty incredible, and it's looking like it might be, maybe like a generational defense when comparing them to other teams from other eras, if not decades and stuff. That they're that good. So, you want to see them go up against great teams and see what happens. I'm looking forward to UK. I know most don't figure UK is going to win. Some people are talking about it. Man, that's a huge spread. Put money on UK because 25 points is too much.
That's a big spread.
Yeah.
Especially, great defense, but Georgia, on lesser teams, they've lit up the scoreboard, but that's a lot of points.
Yeah, I agree. If they cover, I'm going to feel a little bit bad for UK because I'm expecting them to be able to keep it close just because I think they're that good of a football team. They're well coached. I know they're not as deep, but sometimes that doesn't matter. You never know how the ball bounces. If it was at UK, boy, I'd really, really be interested in watching this game thinking this. Who knows if the crowd gets in it because UK gets up or something. But at Georgia, I'm just thinking, I just can't pick UK, even though I'd love to see it, only because I don't have a dog in the fight. It would just be, but to keep Georgia alive, I should say, undefeated and all that, I would at least love to see UK make a great game. That'd be really cool. If they blow the doors off UK, feel bad for UK, So, but I don't think they will because I think Mark Stoops, I finally got his first name. I think he's done a heck of a job there.
Yes.
And they were talking about how he is recruiting basically everybody Ohio State doesn't take in Ohio. They're scooping up all the second and third tier players from Ohio, telling people, hey, up here, yeah, you want to play in the SEC? We're the closest school to you. So then they've done a good job. Them in Cincinnati go for the same players, basically, I heard. So, go UK, go Georgia. I just want to see a great game. It'd be phenomenal to see a fourth quarter game in that one. That'd be great. That's one of the bigger matchups we got this particular week, and we've been spoiled with some seriously nice football for such a long time, this season. So this week we're a little, here we go, UK and Georgia. And the other one here is that I only got two of them this week, is Pitt and Virginia Tech, just because they're both on the same side of the ACC. They're both got the same record. It's only like 1-0 in the ACC. They haven't played hardly any conference games yet, so everything's going in front of them. But winner of this game is going to have a stranglehold on that side, and then the other side, it's just coming down to Wake Forest is undefeated. They've already they got to play NC State and Clemson. Clemson's already played NC State and lost. And Boston College got beat by Clemson, so it's about a 2-team, 3-team deal going there, and a lot of it's going to be happening later, this month and next month. In a couple of weeks, we got in the same weekend Michigan State, and Penn State, Ohio State. So that whole east of the Big Ten is going to have a whole lot of things happening one Saturday. So that'll be fun. But there's there's so many teams that just have to keep it going. Can't have an upset. Can't have a letdown. Playing either scrubs or decent teams, but you got to keep it going. UC. You can't imagine a better year for a group of 5 team, and they've played all their great games. They got nothing left except SMU at the end, but they got to win. They got to win convincingly just to stay alive. Because I'll tell you, here's a crazy one, man. I heard them talking today that if Ohio State and Iowa run the table, and Ohio State beats Iowa, and then Georgia and Alabama run the table, and Alabama beats Georgia, you're talking the CFP could be 2 Big Tens and 2 SEC teams. I don't see that happening. Even if they all do that, I don't see them. But man, I mean, who knows? It's if Oregon has one loss and they beat Ohio State and they're a conference champion, you're really going to keep them out over a Iowa that didn't win the conference, even though they beat the number 3 team, Penn State. It's crazy. It's chaos, so to speak.
Well, even Ohio State, for that matter, boy, I would really be ticked off if we both ended up with one loss and I beat a team head to head and they kept me out and put the other team in. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I mean, it's so many things can happen, and it's going to make it really interesting over the next month and a half to all these games. Ducks are going to start. Not Ducks as in Oregon, but all the cards is going to start laying down. We're going to see a lot more of how it's going to come together. So it's going to be interesting to watch it all. So, but I think I kind of went over some of my. I wrote a bunch of stuff, and I thought I ain't gonna write all this stuff, man. It's just I want to talk about the games more than anything. But
one of the things I wanted to talk a little bit about is Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm.
Here the quarterback situation there. If what I'm hearing is true, that's a real disappointment for a guy that was supposedly the front runner for the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden he's basically quitting, walking out on his team, whatever it is. And I've read a lot of stuff. I don't know what the facts are exactly, but they got a heck of a situation there, and certainly not the greatest time for that conference and that team. For all this to be going on, which could possibly, depending on how they respond, could possibly open the door to 2 teams in one conference getting into playoffs,
right.
in whatever scenario it may be. But
yeah, they I know you and I both kind of perused the same Facebook page, and there's been 2 or 3 different people dropping that Spencer Rattler's in the portal. He's in the portal. He's in the portal and stuff. So I can't find any corroboration on that. And I actually did hear on the satellite radio that because I listen to that a lot because I drive a lot, that Spencer Rattler's dad has come out and said he ain't leaving the team during the season. Well, he goes, well, we're going to finish the year. We'll see what happens after that. So, if that's a true statement, which I'm not sure if it is or not, but I would like to see the kid stay because there's no guarantee the kid that just came out there and won that game for him is gonna do the same thing this week. He's a freshman. He's a highly recruited freshman. He's still a freshman. Caleb Williams, but Radler had to come back in that game and do a 2 point conversion. A lot of people don't know that he came back in and threw a 2 point conversion they got. So yeah, the stories are that he's got a good head on his shoulders of Radler. He's taking it. He's a team player and he's going to stick around. So I think he'll stay around, but I think it's possible if it looks like it's going to be Caleb Williams' team the rest of this year, then he'll probably go into the portal. But they're still saying he's one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. I'm like, how can you be a top draft pick and not even start for your own team? But stranger things have happened. But yeah, it's yeah, I would hate to see him walk out on his team. So I'm glad he's not going to do that if he doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, he should stay one because it's the right thing to do.
Right.
But, you're going, you may not start for your team. The big thing on him is, well, he has an NFL arm. Well, we've seen other guys that had NFL arms and, were big bust in the NFL. So,
Yeah.
we don't know about that. But, hopefully, like you were saying, hopefully he does stick around. And, I mean, who knows in college football?
Yeah.
You've seen guys go down and, things happen. And so, hopefully he does the right thing and sticks with them. And, like so many other things in this friggin' country, you hear this, you hear that, and you don't even know what the truth is anymore. I don't even think the people talking about it even know what the truth is.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the critiques I had seen leading up to last week was that Spencer Rattler's just kind of making bad decisions, maybe overthinking the offense too much, and that Caleb Williams kind of came in and he just started making quicker reads and didn't look. They showed him Rattler passing up one guy, going to another one where he should have thrown there. So I just wondered if he's, the NIL was we've talked about that too, and he did get a pretty nice NIL deal. I don't know who his sponsor was, but he got some money. So, and that is, pressure to perform when you're getting paid to play, so to speak. That's in a roundabout way. So, and that's happened to a lot of guys this year, guys that got some big money that are playing, like De'Aaron King and Spencer Rattler and Sammy Hall at UNC, and there's a few others. And they're not putting up the numbers, so it makes you wonder if that's part of the pressure involved there. But, hopefully he rights the ship either with OU or next year, whatever. But he should definitely stay because that Caleb Williams kid looked great against Texas. Texas has no defense, no big deal. It's a Sark's first year there, but there's no guarantee he's going to come right out. And this is Gary Patterson they're going to be playing this week, TCU, I believe. Or is that Texas playing? No, it's Oklahoma. So that's going to be a tough game for them because that Gary Patterson defense, he's a defensive-minded coach. So he'll have something special for that quarterback if he's going to be in there. So Rattler could be going right back in this week. You just never know if he doesn't start. So
yeah, we don't know what's going on there. But the one thing that we've seen, at the beginning we talked, what we've seen the last couple of years, offense, and it's been much more of a defensive year. But we're not seeing the quarterback play that we've seen the last couple of years, and
not
even
at all.
last year with Mac Jones and the guy from North Carolina, and we still had Trevor Lawrence, and you had
Justin Fields. Yep.
Fields, Ohio State, and I'm not seeing that type of quarterback back play, and even the guys that they say are Heisman Trophy candidates or the best quarterbacks in the country or whatever. To me, there's still a lot of questions for those guys out there, and I haven't seen the performance that I've seen in the past with some of these guys. So that's another thing that's affecting the offense. If you don't have a guy that the main guy who's going to pull the trigger on everything. It's great to have a good play caller and a good game plan and all that kind of stuff. But, one thing that, of course, I always go back to Alabama, but one thing Nick Saban always, what he says, it's the process, and it's, everybody's got to do their job.
Yeah.
So, it's like the offense have took a step back. And I think it's I think it's because we haven't seen the quarterback play that we've seen the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because a lot of people are like, oh, the quarterback gets all of this, gets all the adulations, whatever. And it is one of the toughest positions to play. I think Jimbo Fisher was saying it last week after they beat Alabama. It's the toughest position to
Mm-hmm.
play in all team sports because you got to come to the line, you got to set the team, you got to look at the defense, you got to make the calls, you got to make the audibles, you got to touch the ball on every play, make sure you get the hand. I mean, there's just so many things going on. It is a pretty dynamic position. But talking a little Heisman, I tell you right now, I think the Heisman is almost a front runner by far is that running back at Texas. I can't think of his name, but that dude is an absolute monster, and he's having a heck of a year. But it's been a few years since a running back has done it, so it'll be interesting. But this could be a year it happens because, like you said, there hasn't many quarterbacks that have just taken
Oh,
off and separated themselves at all on any team. But we got a lot of young guys, so that's just kind of a ebb and flow of the position, especially at the top tier teams. They're all starting new guys this year, whether it's freshmen or redshirt
well,
freshmen.
I think it's something that'll come back around. It's just
Right,
like you said, it seems like everybody, the kind of stuck around and paid their dues, and much like the Rattler thing or whatever.
right.
They kind of hung in there, and um, all those guys were upperclassmen at that point. So now we have all these young guys, freshmen and sophomores, which obviously there's a learning point, and so we'll see how that works. But I think it will come back. In the next year, two at the most. We're going to probably see some. Once again, we're going to see some great quarterback play.
Yeah, yeah. I was talking to my boss today. We both agree that we think one of the Buckeye backups will be in the portal after the season because there's Stroud's got the job. There's Jack Miller and the McCord, and then you got the guy who came early as a freshman, Ewers, who
Hoover,
was the
yeah.
number one overall pick. So that's just a crowded room. He'll probably lose somebody. Shame as it is, but it's just the nature of the college football as it is now. But almost certainly, just looking at it, you would hope Clemson rights the ship at some point and gets the better offensive play. Bryce Young's going to have a year under his belt. A lot of quarterbacks going to be playing next year and having what could be great sophomore years, if you will. But with this year kind of a trial by fire. Even though I think Bryce Young out of all of them was probably somewhat played the best of all the young guys. I don't think he's really had a real trip up game. Stroud started out not too great and ended up sitting out a game for injury. And then of course Rattler, and Hal. I mean, those guys aren't even young. I should say they're not new, but boy, it's just been tough this year on those guys. But those teams also don't play a lot of offensive lines. If your offensive line can't keep you upright, that doesn't help you at all. There's
Well,
no
yeah, I
doubt.
mean, see that no matter what level of football you're at, if you don't have time to get your reads and make your plays, and there, you can't make a whole lot of things happen. You know,
Right.
on the other side of that, I've seen, much like Bryce Young has golden opportunities to be a great quarterback, and to me, the great guys make those plays, make those throws, get out of the pocket and pick up that first down, whatever it may be. You
Right.
know, I'm seeing a lot of guys that just, like I was saying before, that are just not maybe just not quite there yet. I guess what would be a fair thing to say. I'd like to say more, but got to give them the
I mean,
benefit of the doubt
you
here.
know,
And
when Justin Fields came to Ohio State, I didn't know how good he was going to be. We just came off of Haskins 1 year where he set the record for touchdown passes in the Big Ten. I'm thinking, how is this guy going to measure up? And I honestly think he was a better quarterback after the 2 years he was here. I think he was the best quarterback Ohio State's ever seen, and he was pretty darn good. But he really didn't come in with a lot of pressure on him, because he's coming into a team that's trying to still ascend up the hill. Then you got Bryce Young who comes into, the national champion, Nick Saban led Bama. That's even more added pressure, I think. And I'm not making excuses. I don't think he's played bad, but he just doesn't have 3 years of Mac Jones, like Mac Jones had, and then a Tua. It's just kind of just the way it was. he was the man, and he was pretty young. So I don't think he's played bad at all. You know, I don't understand you think he did either. You know, so I think he's kind of leading the pack of the young guns. You know, and in my opinion, you know, not really thinking of if unless I'm mistaken, not thinking of somebody else. So, but so it'll be interesting next year to see how the quarterback play, you know, elevates. You know, and I think you know SEC wise that Matt Corral guy is another guy that could be a somewhat of a front runner from a quarterback position for the Heisman, but he didn't help himself much in that game against Alabama.
And, and
So
and maybe we'll see in in the next year or two because Ohio State is a perfect example. Loaded up on the quarterback position is is we're going to see the the Joe Burrow Justin Fields thing, where
right,
goes into the portal, transfers out, whatever, and goes to another team, and makes the difference.
yep,
If a guy goes to a team that's in the top five in recruiting and um, I mean, just playing one of the top five teams, six, seven teams in the country. I mean, they're going to make a big. They have the opportunity to make a really big difference in those teams, and we've seen that with Justin Fields, and we've seen that with Joe Burrow. So
yep.
some other guys, I'm sure we're going to see it again.
And Jalen Hurts when he went to OU, he got them in the playoff. You know,
Yeah,
after Murray and Mayfield. So yeah, you know, kind of a spoiled with a lot of quarterback play in the last 4 or 5 years, and now it's kind of we're just hitting a gully because a lot of these guys are young, and yeah, it's interesting. But so yeah,
Revive,
yeah, I think what's that?
revive defense, that's for sure.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, you know, well, yeah, you know, yeah. If there's a way we could just get Georgia and Iowa to play each other, and not have it affect anything, I think I'd be interested in just watching that game because that's two of the best defenses that I've seen this year. Different styles, different philosophies, but man, you know, really, really good, really fun to watch. There's no doubt, you know, and you know, I'm not much on the awards that they do. I know we talked to Heisman a little bit, but I saw that today that the Lombardi list or whatever it's called
Hmm.
for best lineman, either offense or defense, and the dude Jordan Davis from Georgia is not on that list. I mean, how is that even possible?
Yeah, that would be possible. I'm with you on that. Uh,
It just solidifies the fact that those lists are dumb. It's a waste of time even reading those things because he is the most dominant defensive player in college football that I can even think of. And it all depends on who needs who in the draft. As soon as somebody needs a defensive lineman, they're taking him unless they are
oh,
idiots. I mean, my gosh, that guy is an absolute beast.
yeah,
I mean, he is fun to watch. There's no
yeah.
doubt.
I think also another game was Iowa and Penn State, and that was a heck of a game. But really, Penn State controlled that game.
Yep.
When they lost their quarterback, and it was the same thing that I said before. All of a sudden, the crowd's back in it. The momentum has changed, and unfortunately for Penn State, we've seen maybe the difference between some of the teams that have stayed in the top five or whatever number we want to use, and
Right.
other teams like Penn State and Iowa and whoever you want to name, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, whoever it may be, um, we're seeing the difference in the depth of these, of who they have. Because, I mean, once the Penn State quarterback went out, the guy that came in, I mean, I really kind of felt bad for him. I
Yeah.
mean, he couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I mean, all he could do was come in and take off with the ball,
And
and
they
because
had
State was in
so
control.
many false start penalties after he got in that game. That crowd
Yeah,
just ramped it up, and they just couldn't get anything done. And tell you something interesting: how the transfer portal affected that game. The quarterback that would have been behind Clifford at Penn State last year, he was there, transferred out, and he's the starter at Kentucky. So,
really.
yep.
I did
So
not
there
know
you
that.
go. Yeah,
Wow.
there you go. It's amazing. So that guy would have been there. He probably would have done a heck of a lot better. No offense, because that dude was a freshman, so I don't blame him much at all. I kind of know I'm not harping on the coach, but they could have tried to make sure that guy was more prepared. I mean, in this day and age, you got to have a good starter and you got to have a backup that can at least manage the game because everybody gets dinged up in football these days. Hardly anybody goes with one quarterback the whole season. every game. That's for sure.
Well, we were saying the importance of the quarterback position, and you were saying Jimbo Fisher, making the comments about it. I think it's really hard for them to get a second guy, backup guy, the reps that he needs when the first guy has so much stuff to work on.
Yeah.
And they got to put together a game plan of how they're going to attack the team that they have this week. Because it's going to change every week. So that changes. So I think it's hard for them to get a backup guy the reps that he would need to step into the game and perform, maybe the way that he possibly could, or what we expect to see from him. And so
Oh yeah, I mean,
part of that.
what is it? 20 hours a week they can only do now with the coaches. Everything's so limited, and offenses are so much more complex. There's so much more to learn. And then the portal. As soon as you're not the starter, pew, you're going somewhere else. And not too long ago, it was you got a junior or a senior, and you got at least a freshman, sophomore behind them, guys that are moving up. You're not even trying to play a freshman the first year because you don't have to. Now all of a sudden, that's all you got because everybody transferred out or whatever. So, yeah, it's not. I agree. It makes it hard. I don't know how you do it. And keep your offense up and trying to improve every week, but at the same time trying to get reps to the backups. So
Right. Yeah, I think it's almost impossible.
yeah. In this day and age, there's no doubt. So. Yeah, hopefully there's a lot of dads out there that can tell their kids, you wait your turn, you'll get your turn, I mean, because that's what college football has always been, you'll get your turn. Nobody played freshman, 20 years ago. It was just, you had to sit and wait while everybody else was playing. Now it's like everybody wants to come in and start right away. And look what we got. We got a lot of bad quarterback play for freshmen and stuff that haven't played, People think, oh man, big deal. He hadn't thrown a pass yet. Man, I tell you what, we know high school to college, huge difference. College to pro. Look at Trevor Lawrence never lost a game in high school. Only lost a couple in college. He ain't won one yet in the NFL. So this just shows you how much a difference it is.
Like you were saying earlier, you got to have a team around you that can at least keep you upright and give you an opportunity. And
Oh yeah.
I don't know that. I don't know that he went to a team that gave him the best opportunity to
Oh,
shine. As
well,
a
there's
rookie.
no doubt. I mean, in high school, depending on where you're playing, even if you got even your quarterback's the best player on the team, you can probably win some games. You can't do that in the pros. You got to have a whole lot of guys to try to
yeah.
win. There's no doubt. So it gets harder with every level. There's no doubt. But so yeah, next year we should have some pretty nice quarterback play. But tomorrow, well, actually, there's a good game on tonight. Is it? Let me think. I think Clemson Syracuse is tonight, and that's at Syracuse. So if Clemson drops that one, then they're really not figured two. But man, I don't know what to expect from Clemson this year. I know their defense is really good, but if they're on the field the whole day, it could be a long day for them. So
Offense is really bad.
yeah, they're just not
They said
clicking.
that-
So it seems like every week we're waiting for Clemson to turn it on. So we'll just see what happens. But so that's tonight, and then tomorrow, of course, Georgia and UK is a big game. And I think that's a mid-afternoon game, 3:30 or something like that. And I think,
At that earlier, I can't remember what time it was because I was looking at what games do I want to see, and like you were saying, a little bit of a letdown from what we've had the last couple of weeks, where we've got 3 or 4 games that are just marquee games that, oh man, this is going to be a good one, and most of them have. But yeah, you look at it this week, and of course it's college football, so we don't know. I mean, it could be one of the best weekends of football.
yeah, I mean, the games you're not thinking of, even if they're not, the numbers next to the teams aren't low, so to speak, it still could be some pretty fantastic games. Purdue, what they say, Purdue has beaten more number 2 teams when they're unranked than anybody else in Power 5. And so they're playing Iowa this week. So you just never know, man. I mean, that would be ugly for Iowa if Purdue beat them.
That
But
at Purdue.
and it's at Iowa.
Oh, it's at Iowa. Okay.
Yeah. I really don't think it's going to happen, but man, we don't know this year. Anything's possible, I guess, man. It's, everything I think, as soon as I think something, the other thing happens, the opposite, A&M wins. I mean, whatever, So, yeah, I know the Buckeyes are off, so they can't lose. So that's good.
Right. Well, that's it's going to be really interesting. I don't know if you've seen we follow the one site, and it's so comical and crazy, but of course sometimes I can't help myself, but I had to get on there and see if I could stir the pot a little bit.
I saw your post today.
Yeah, well, I was going to lose to Ohio State in the Big Ten championship, and Kentucky and Georgia. This is not a basketball game. It's football.
Yep.
And I believe that. I don't mean to discredit Kentucky at all. I haven't seen them a whole lot. I have watched them some, but I just at Georgia, I think they're going to be. I think Georgia's going to be a little bit too much for them. But like you were saying, hopefully we see a great game and come down to the end, and Kentucky shows itself very well. But that's why no matter
yeah.
what we say.
If that game is close in the end, it's not an indictment of Georgia at all because
No,
Kentucky's a good football program. They're not elite, but they're really good. They're a tough out. If you make too many mistakes or if you don't, show up to play, but basically, I think a guy on the radio said it best. For Kentucky to win against Georgia, especially at Georgia, they're going to need some help from Georgia. Georgia's going to have to take it off, maybe not play as hard, shoot themselves in the foot a couple times, give up, something weird, a bad fumble
well,
or whatever.
we
So,
just
and I
we
kind of agree with that.
yeah we just saw it with Texas A&M. Get a couple of turnovers, one in
Yeah.
the red zone, get something
Did
special
didn't the
team.
running back didn't that running back fumble too for them going across the line of scrimmage early in that game?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Bama's running back.
And then
So
the turnover at the 2 yard line. I mean,
right,
if Kentucky can get those type of things, and stick around, yeah, I mean, you just you never
yeah,
know. And
exactly.
one of the things I kind of hate to hear, and especially in college sports, is is the word overrated. Well, they're
Oh,
overrated. You know, come on, man. If people realize what all goes into this, the advantage of being at home, uh, the rivalry.
yeah,
There's so many things that come into this. Because a team loses. I mean, in my mind, no way makes them that they were overrated. You know,
right.
and some of the teams have, Ohio State, you got beat by, no, they were overrated. Texas A&M beat Alabama, they were overrated. It's not a term that I really care for, and especially in college sports. But I mean, everybody's going to say what they want to say. But
Well, and like we say, anyways, the ratings are garbage. So who cares what the ratings
oh
are? It's all about who's playing and what. You look at Georgia. It doesn't matter what their rating is. They're unbeaten. Their defense is stout, and regardless of what the number next to their team is, Kentucky has that game. That's a game they're going to be showing up for it. This is like a Super Bowl to them. So you're gonna, those teams, your Alabamas, your Georgias, your Ohio States, your elite, your Clemson's, you get everybody's best every week. Whether it's good enough or not, it doesn't matter. They're gonna. That's the thing. Hey, we're playing them this week, so let's get out there and get after it. So that's what A&M did last week. They ain't played like that all year, and boy, Bama comes to town, and dang man, they look like the Patriots. So yeah, and like I said, a couple fumbles here, and then there were two possessions where they got 3 points in the red zone. Alabama got a turnover and then got a field goal. If somebody said, "Hey, you're going to get two times in the red zone," you're thinking that's going to be 14 points. So
yeah,
yeah, so
I hate to keep going back to that game, but I really surprised. I was there at the end. I thought, Alabama's got this game. They have come back. They're going to win
right,
it, or we're going in overtime. And they had the ball with 3 minutes to go. And once again, as a Alabama fan, of course, I'm questioning what are you guys doing? But I mean, it came down to a ball hit the guy right in the hands. He hangs onto that ball. The drive's still alive, and at worst, we're in overtime. But
right.
that didn't happen. And like we said, that's college football, and that's why we love it so much. That so you never know what's going to happen. Kentucky, Georgia, whoever it may be, and it's usually the big advantage is the home team. They were talking about. I've seen a lot of talk about where they lost to this team, where they lost to that team. To me, losing on the road, I kind of get that, especially in a really hostile environment. I think one of the worst things that can happen to one of the top teams is to have somebody come into your house and beat you. I mean,
Oh
that
yeah.
kind of happened with Ohio State, and I think that's why they dropped as far as they dropped. Now, they have the opportunity, and they're starting to come up. They have the opportunity to come right back and be in it.
Oh
But
yeah.
to me, one of the toughest, one of the reasons that you see that is, I think one of the worst things can happen in college football is for a team to come to your house and beat you. If Ohio State went to Penn State and got beat, hey, I could understand that. Ohio State probably is the better team, but they went there and the hostile environment was crazy, and they made some mistakes, and that type of thing. We see that, and it's really been like I was saying earlier, man. It's just I have really just been amazed when I'm watching these games, and I'm going, wow, man, this crowd is crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
see that.
Absolutely.
That if you're standing next to a freight train, you know, if you're standing right next to it and it's going by, the crowd noise was louder than that.
Yeah.
I'm
Oh
thinking,
yeah.
wow, how can they even hear? And you can kind of see when the quarterback's up there and trying to tell the guys we're changing a play, or when we're going to snap the ball, and you see so many false starts in those games.
Oh my gosh, that was an incredible game to watch. Getting back to Iowa, and I mean when that quarterback went out for Penn State was winning 17-3, and then they ended up losing that game. So what a
20 to
huge
3.
turnaround.
Was it 20
What's
to 3?
Was it 20? I thought it was 17. Maybe it was 20. Either way, they were dominating the game and the scoreboard. I think Iowa picked them off, and then the next play, Penn State picked them right back off. I mean, both defenses were playing great, and
Mm-hmm.
Penn State's offense just was getting the better of everything. Iowa would have a nice running back. He'd have some decent runs, maybe a patch or two, but they just never strung anything together and got much going. But boy, it all changed when that quarterback went out, man. It's like another team
Oh,
showed up, and
night and day.
plus the
Crowd's
Penn
back.
State just. You remember that it was one of the craziest decisions was when they were third and long, and got a penalty that if they would have declined it would have been fourth and long. They would have punted. Ferentz took the penalty and put them back even farther, and then they punted, and then he put them back even farther because he loves to play the field position. That helped them 2 series later to be so close as when they went to got the go ahead score. So it's just no
Well,
who takes a penalty when it's third and long, and declining it would be a punt. You take the punt, but no, he took the penalty to get it even farther back behind, to the goal line. So crazy.
wasn't it fairly close to midfield? Didn't they go for it on fourth down in one situation?
Yeah,
It wasn't
James
like
Franklin did. Yes.
one. It wasn't
Yeah.
like fourth and one. It was like 4th and 6 or 5.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
wasn't something where you're going, hey, we can get a yard or we can get a foot or something like
Right.
that. I remember it being much farther, and I'm thinking, wow, that fourth, and I can't remember
Yeah.
like 40-yard line or something, but still, you're giving up a lot of field,
Yeah. Field
position.
position. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking, man, ain't no way I'm going for it here on 4th and
Yeah.
5 or 6 and punt that thing and pin them down.
Yeah. It's crazy decisions in that game. There's no doubt. But yeah, that's just something about Iowa makes people go crazy. I guess I don't know. Making weird decisions, but so I mean, even Penn State's not out of it. They got the one loss, but they could still. All the teams in the East, they haven't played them yet. They still got to play Ohio State, Michigan, Michigan State. So everything's going to happen in the next few weeks and stuff. So it'd be a lot of fun. So
Well,
got a lot.
and going back to the Big Ten, Michigan State and Michigan, Michigan literally had a game handed to them, literally
I,
handed to
I
them.
remember we talked. You
Here,
said you were
take
going to
this.
remind me. You were
Yeah,
going to remind me about Nebraska.
yeah. I was going to, here, take this football because we can win here, but I don't think we want to. Here, go ahead and take it. I mean, it was just wow,
I,
But
I was like, man, Nebraska's gonna win. This is awesome.
yeah,
And then he just coughs it up and thinking, oh my! And in Scott Frost's face, I was like, dude, he has got to be livid. They were saying that Martinez can come back for another year if he wants to. Frost is gonna be telling him, you need to go. Just go. We need a fresh start. because
Oh yeah,
they could be 5-1. They played OU tough. They played Michigan State tough. They played
mhm.
Michigan tough, and they lost all 3 games.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. I thought, I mean, you hate to see that kind of thing, but it happens. It kind of reminds me. I don't know if you got to remember this. Go back to the Eagles. Herm Edwards, whenever they were doing a kneel down for the ball, and all of a sudden it pops up in the air, and
oh
you
yeah,
and, that type of thing is just. Like we've said many times, the beauty of football is, man, you never know that's a weird shaped ball and it's going to bounce or squibble or whatever, in any direction it pleases. So you never know what's going to happen.
absolutely. So all right, man. Well, we can get close to wrapping this thing up. You got stuff you got to do. I know. Nice birthday party for the granddaughter, right?
It's for Libby.
And that's a granddaughter, right? Is that right about that
Yeah,
or?
yeah,
Yeah.
Libby.
Okay. Yeah.
Libby, that was on your daughter's soccer team.
Right. Yeah. I was just trying to think of her relation to you. Yeah. So
Well, she would be, I guess, that's Chad's daughter, my daughter's stepdaughter. So
okay. There you go. Kind of a grandchildish somewhere in that neighborhood. No.
we didn't,
But
we don't look at it that way. I mean, she's
it,
she's 100%.
no, absolutely. Yes,
So
absolutely.
it'll be a
I'll
exciting
give
time
you
for because she'll be a teenager now. Woohoo!
Oh wow. I'll give you a tidbit of information. In the soccer league, they passed out paperwork on a flyer on Wednesday that they're having an end of season soccer pizza party next Saturday at Marion's, and it says it's sponsored by one of the families. So I'm wondering if they're going to pay for it all. So if
Yeah.
that's the case, you guys want to make sure you're there for that free pizza. But don't tell them I told you.
This is my
Hey,
buddy
buddy,
right here. Say
what's
hi,
up?
hello, Fletch, don't you, from soccer? Say hello.
I'm the loud guy that sits in the middle.
That's
All
hot.
right, man. Well, tell Libby I said happy birthday.
What's that?
I said, tell Libby I said happy birthday.
Oh yeah, I will. I'll tell her that you said so.
And we got a tournament tomorrow morning. You gonna come out there in the freezing cold and watch them play soccer?
Yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe. Amy was saying that there was some kind of, the scheduling is really kind of crazy. They play and then they don't play for a while and then they
Well,
play.
they have 4 teams, but the one team that's actually from Tecumseh is not going to be in the tournament. I think they decided not to do it because they never lost the game. They figured it was maybe a little bit unfair, or whatever. So it's 3 teams. So we're playing the game tomorrow. We're playing the other team on Tuesday, and then the other 2 teams are going to play each other on Thursday. And you get a win for 3 points. You 3 points for a win. So if any one team wins 2 games, they win the tournament. And if it's tie, if everybody wins 1, I don't know what the tiebreaker is after that. So we'll see what happens. So basically, it'll all be over next Thursday. So
Yeah, so what time's the game tomorrow?
9 o'clock.
Oh, joy. Okay. I may see you
Freezing,
then.
freezing cold. Fall is here. Summer's over. It just happened today for those who are playing at home. So,
Yep.
all right, man. Enjoy it. Have fun and enjoy the football tomorrow. I'm sure we'll talk.
Okay. We'll talk
All
to you
right.
later.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Of course, I always forget to say this. It is YouTube, the bell and subscribe, Facebook, the like, and we're glad. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to you guys all next week. All right, it's all over, but the crying.
Yeah. Well, not a whole lot of exciting things to talk about this week.